Hey everyone, welcome back to the Archetype Archive, your honest space to understand relationships, people, and yourself. I'm Maya.
And I'm Jordan. After the last two episodes, we got hundreds of comments asking the same question.
Okay, I recognize my patterns, but how do I actually change them?
Exactly. So today, we're answering that question.
How to become securely attached, even if you didn't start that way.
And the answer is yes, it's possible.
It really is. This is called earned secure attachment.
Which means you weren't born with secure attachment, but through intentional work, you develop it.
And before we dive in, we want to be really honest with you.
This episode is about real change, which means real work.
We're not going to give you 5 quick tips and tell you you'll be healed by Tuesday.
No, this is deeper than that.
But we are going to give you science-based steps that actually work.
Over 5,000 of you commented pattern on the last episode. That was overwhelming, in the best way.
And so many of you shared your stories. Some of you are in therapy now. Some of you ended relationships that weren't serving you. Some of you are just starting to see the patterns.
Wherever you are, we're so glad you're here.
This is a B2 level episode, which means the language might be a little more advanced, but don't worry, we'll break everything down clearly.
And later, we'll have our word journey, where we review the key vocabulary.
Very educational, very practical, very possible.
Unlike changing your attachment style overnight.
Exactly.
So if you're ready to do the work, subscribe to the channel.
And today's task, if you're committed to becoming more secure, comment the word growth below. It helps us understand who's on this journey, and it helps YouTube show this to others who need it.
All right, let's begin. Maya, can I start with a question?
Always.
What does securely attached actually mean?
That's such a good place to start, because I think people hear that term and think it means perfect.
Right, but secure attachment doesn't mean you never feel anxious.
Or that you never need space.
Exactly. Secure attachment means you can handle both closeness and independence without feeling threatened.
So you don't panic when someone needs space.
Right. And you don't run away when someone wants closeness.
You can move fluidly between connection and autonomy.
Yes. That word autonomy is so important.
Autonomy means independence, the ability to be yourself separate from the relationship.
And securely attached people don't lose their sense of self when they fall in love.
But they also don't build walls to protect their independence.
Exactly. It's balance.
Okay, so balance. But how do you actually develop that if you didn't grow up with it?
That's the real question. And the answer has several parts.
I'm listening.
The first step, and this is non-negotiable, is awareness.
We've talked about this before.
We have, but I want to go deeper. Awareness isn't just knowing your attachment style.
What else is it?
It's understanding your triggers, your patterns, your core beliefs, and most importantly, how these show up in real time.
So, not just I'm anxious, but I'm feeling anxious right now because my partner didn't text back, and that's activating my fear of abandonment.
Yes, that level of awareness.
That's very specific.
It has to be, because you can't change patterns you don't notice.
So, awareness is like turning on the lights.
Oh, I love that. Yes, you can't rearrange furniture in the dark.
You need to see what's there first.
Exactly. And for most people, therapy is where this awareness begins.
Therapy.
Yes. And I know not everyone can access therapy right now.
Cost, availability, stigma.
All real barriers.
But there are other tools too.
There are. Journaling, attachment-focused books, online courses, support groups.
Even YouTube videos and podcasts.
Yes. You're building awareness right now by listening.
So if therapy isn't accessible yet, start where you can.
Exactly. Okay, so step 1 is awareness. What's step 2?
I'm curious too.
Step 2 is regulation.
Regulation. You mean emotional regulation?
Yes, this is your ability to manage your emotional responses instead of being controlled by them.
So when you feel anxious, you don't immediately spiral.
Right. You notice the anxiety and you have tools to calm yourself down.
What kind of tools?
Breathing exercises, grounding techniques, mindfulness, physical movement.
Can you give an example of grounding?
Sure. Grounding is bringing yourself back to the present moment when your mind is spiraling into the future or past.
Okay.
So let's say you're anxious because your partner hasn't called.
Classic anxious attachment trigger.
Exactly. Your mind starts spinning. They don't care. They're pulling away. This is happening again.
The story takes over. Yes.
So grounding brings you back. You might name 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear.
So you're pulling your attention away from the story and back to physical reality.
Exactly. Because in this present moment, right now, you're actually okay.
That's powerful.
It really is. And the more you practice regulation, the less reactive you become.
So you go from they didn't call, I'm spiraling, to they didn't call, I feel anxious, but I can manage this feeling.
Yes, that shift is huge.
What about for avoidant people? What does regulation look like for them?
Good question.
For avoidant people, regulation often means staying present when the urge to withdraw shows up.
So instead of shutting down or leaving,
They notice the discomfort and stay anyway.
that sounds really hard.
It is. Because for avoidant people, emotional closeness can feel suffocating.
Like they're losing themselves.
Exactly. So regulation means recognizing I'm feeling overwhelmed right now, but this person isn't actually threatening my autonomy.
It's fear, not reality.
Yes, just like the anxious person learns they haven't texted, but that doesn't mean they're leaving.
So both types are learning to separate their emotional reaction from what's actually happening.
Exactly. That is so well said, Maya.
Thank you. So we have awareness and regulation. What's next?
Step 3 is corrective experiences.
Corrective experiences. What does that mean?
It means having new relationship experiences that contradict your old beliefs.
So if your belief is people leave, a corrective experience would be someone staying?
Yes, but it's more nuanced than that.
Tell me more.
Okay, so let's say you're anxiously attached. Your core belief is if I'm not perfect, people will abandon me.
Okay.
A corrective experience would be showing someone your imperfections, your needs, your vulnerability, and having them stay.
Maya, not despite those things, but accepting them.
Exactly. And over time, those experiences rewire your belief.
So you start to believe maybe I am lovable as I am.
Yes. That's the healing.
That's beautiful.
It is. And for avoidant people, corrective experiences look different.
How so?
For them, it's about experiencing closeness without losing themselves.
So being intimate and still feeling like an individual.
Yes. Maybe their partner respects their need for alone time, or doesn't get upset when they need space.
So they learn I can be close to someone and still be me.
Exactly. And that contradicts their belief that love equals loss of self.
So corrective experiences are like evidence against your old story.
Yes. Perfect way to say it.
But where do these experiences come from?
That's the tricky part. They usually come from relationships.
Which is hard because you're trying to heal while you're still in the pattern.
Exactly. Which is why therapy is so valuable.
How so?
Because the therapeutic relationship itself can be a corrective experience.
Really?
Yes. A good therapist provides consistency, boundaries, attunement.
Attunement. That means being emotionally in sync with someone, right?
Yes. It means they notice your emotions, validate them, and respond appropriately.
So for someone whose parents weren't attuned,
The therapist models what healthy attunement looks like.
that's actually brilliant.
It is. And over time, you internalize that experience.
Internalize. That means take it inside yourself?
Yes, you start treating yourself the way the therapist treated you.
So you become your own secure base.
Exactly. That's the goal.
Let's pause for a breath here. You're taking in a lot of new concepts. That's good work.
Really good work.
Okay, so we have awareness, regulation, and corrective experiences. What's step 4?
Step 4 is self-compassion.
Ah, this one's hard for a lot of people.
It really is. Especially if you grew up with criticism.
Or if your attachment wounds came from feeling not enough.
Exactly. Self-compassion means treating yourself with the same kindness you'd show a good friend.
So instead of, I'm so stupid for texting them again, you say, I was feeling anxious, and I did the best I could.
Yes. That shift is massive.
Because you're not excusing the behavior.
You're understanding it with kindness.
Which is very different from shame.
Very different. Shame says, I am bad. Self-compassion says, I'm human and I'm learning.
That distinction matters so much.
It does. Because shame keeps you stuck.
It makes you hide, avoid, shut down.
Exactly. But self-compassion creates space for growth.
How do you practice it though? Like, practically.
One way is self-talk. Notice how you talk to yourself when you make a mistake.
Okay.
If you're harsh, pause and ask, what would I say to a friend in this situation?
And then say that to yourself.
Yes. It feels weird at first.
Very weird.
Yes, but it works.
I think a lot of people will need to hear this multiple times.
Absolutely. Self-compassion is a practice, not a destination.
It's something you return to again and again.
Exactly. Okay, so step 5.
I'm ready.
Step 5 is building secure relationships.
But wait, how do you do that if you're still learning to be secure?
That's the paradox, isn't it? You need relationships to heal, but your attachment wounds show up in relationships.
So it's messy.
It's very messy. But here's what helps.
Tell me.
Look for people who are securely attached or working on their attachment.
Not people who trigger your patterns.
Exactly. If you're anxious, don't date someone who's avoidant just because it feels familiar.
And if you're avoidant, don't date someone who's intensely anxious because it confirms your fears.
Yes! Date people who challenge you to be more secure.
What does that look like?
For anxious people, it means dating someone who's consistent, communicative, and doesn't play games.
Even if it feels boring at first.
Especially if it feels boring. Because remember, boring might just be healthy.
Like we talked about in episode 2.
Exactly. And for avoidant people, it means dating someone who respects boundaries, but also gently encourages vulnerability.
Someone who doesn't chase, but also doesn't let you completely disappear.
Yes! That's beautifully said.
So you're looking for someone who meets you where you are, but also invites you higher.
I love that. Yes!
But how do you know if someone is secure?
You look for signs. Do they communicate clearly? Do they handle conflict well? Can they be both close and independent?
Do they take responsibility for their emotions?
Yes, that's a big one.
Secure people don't make their anxiety your problem.
Right. And they don't shut down when things get emotional.
They stay present.
Exactly. And here's something really important.
What?
You don't need to be fully secure to date someone secure.
Really?
Really. You just need to be doing the work.
So, awareness, regulation, self-compassion.
And willingness to communicate.
So, you can say, hey, I'm feeling anxious right now. I know that's my pattern. I just need some reassurance.
Yes. That level of self-awareness changes everything.
Because you're naming the pattern instead of acting it out.
Exactly. And a secure partner can handle that.
That's really hopeful.
It is. Okay, so we've covered a lot. Let me recap the steps.
Yes, please.
Step 1, awareness. Know your patterns, triggers, and beliefs.
Check.
Step 2, regulation. Learn to manage your emotions instead of being controlled by them.
Got it.
Step 3, corrective experiences. Seek relationships that contradict your old beliefs.
Right.
Step 4, self-compassion. Treat yourself with kindness, especially when you mess up.
Important.
And step 5, build secure relationships. Choose people who help you grow.
Those are solid steps.
They are. But I want to add one more thing.
What's that?
Time. This takes time.
That's so important to say.
It is. Because people often expect quick results.
I've been doing the work for 3 months. Why am I still anxious?
Exactly. But attachment patterns were formed over years.
Sometimes decades.
Right. So healing also takes time.
It's not linear either, is it?
No. Some days you'll feel secure. Other days you'll spiral.
And that's normal.
That's completely normal. Growth isn't a straight line.
It's more like 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Yes. Or sometimes 3 steps back.
And that's okay too.
It really is. The point is, you keep going.
You don't give up on yourself.
No. You don't give up.
I think a lot of people listening needed to hear that.
I hope so. Because becoming secure is possible.
It really is.
It's not easy. And it's not fast. But it's possible.
And you're worth the effort.
You really are.
I think that's a beautiful place to move into our word journey.
Yes. Let's review the key vocabulary from today.
Let's start with a really important term. Earned secure attachment. Earned secure attachment means you didn't start with secure attachment patterns, but through therapy, self-work, and healthy relationships, you developed them over time.
For example, She grew up with inconsistent parents, but after years of therapy, she now has earned secure attachment.
Or you might say, earned secure attachment is proof that you're not stuck with your childhood patterns.
Repeat, earned secure attachment. Next, let's look at autonomy. Autonomy means independence and the ability to be yourself, separate from others, especially in relationships.
For example, secure people maintain their autonomy even when they're deeply in love.
Or avoidant people often over-prioritize autonomy at the expense of connection.
Repeat, autonomy.
Now, an important word, regulation.
Regulation, or emotional regulation, is the ability to manage your emotional responses instead of being controlled by them.
For example, when she felt anxious, she used breathing exercises for regulation.
Or good emotional regulation helps you stay calm when triggered.
Repeat. Regulation. Let's talk about grounding.
Grounding is a technique that brings you back to the present moment when your mind is spiraling into anxiety about the future or past.
For example, when I started panicking, I used a grounding technique to calm myself down.
Or grounding exercises include naming things you can see, touch, and hear.
Repeat. Grounding.
Next is corrective experience.
A corrective experience is a new relationship experience that contradicts your old negative beliefs about yourself or relationships.
For example, when his partner stayed after seeing his flaws, it was a corrective experience that challenged his belief of being unlovable.
Or therapy provides corrective experiences through consistent, attuned relationships.
Repeat. Corrective experience.
An important concept. Attunement.
Attunement means being emotionally in sync with someone, noticing their emotions and responding appropriately.
For example, good parents show attunement by recognizing when their child is upset and offering comfort.
Or her therapist's attunement made her feel truly seen and understood.
Repeat. Attunement.
Let's look at internalize.
To internalize means to take something external and make it part of your internal belief system or sense of self.
For example, after years of therapy, she internalized her therapist's compassionate voice.
Or children internalize how their parents treat them, which becomes their inner voice.
Repeat. Internalize.
Now let's talk about self-compassion.
Self-compassion means treating yourself with kindness and understanding, especially when you make mistakes or feel inadequate.
For example, instead of criticizing herself for texting her ex, she practiced self-compassion and acknowledged she was feeling lonely.
Or self-compassion is different from self-esteem because it doesn't require you to be perfect.
Repeat. Self-compassion.
And finally, let's talk about the phrase, growth is not linear.
The phrase, growth is not linear, means that healing and personal development don't happen in a straight line, but involve setbacks, plateaus, and forward progress.
For example,
I had a bad week where I felt anxious again, but I reminded myself that growth is not linear.
Or don't get discouraged by setbacks. Growth is not linear, and every step counts.
Repeat. Growth is not linear. Those were some powerful concepts from today.
They really were. And I hope they give you not just understanding, but a roadmap.
Because becoming securely attached is a journey.
And every step you take matters.
Even the messy steps, even the backward steps.
They all count.
So if this episode helped you, don't forget to subscribe to the Archetype Archive.
And leave a like if you're committed to doing this work.
And please comment the word growth below. It helps us understand who's on this journey with us, and it helps YouTube show this episode to others who need it.
Or share your biggest takeaway from today in the comments.
We read every single one. Your progress inspires us.
Take care of your heart.
And be patient with yourself as you grow.
This is Maya.
And this is Jordan.
And you've been listening to the Archetype Archive.
Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.